Welcome to the Petersen's Bowhunting Podcast. All bow hunting, all the time. Now, here are your hosts, Editor Christian Berg and Associate Editor Mark Demko.
All right, welcome back to the Bowhunting Podcast. It is Valentine's Day, Mr. Demko. And what better for Valentine's Day than to talk to one of the best-known bow hunting couples in the land?
Absolutely. Hey, Lee and Tiffany, thank you so much for taking time to join us. We're super excited. A bit of a different angle for us here, but perfect time of the year to talk about couples.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it just was funny because we drop an episode every Tuesday and we were looking at the calendar. And I said to Mark, about a month ago, we're like, hey, Valentine's Day falls on a Tuesday this year. And I was like, we probably ought to do something. Maybe it's a little cheesy, but cheesy's all right every now and again. And, you guys are, somewhat inseparable in terms of you don't say Lee without Tiffany or Tiffany without Lee, right? And you guys have been doing this for quite a while now. How long have you been hunting together?
Oh, I bet 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25.
I mean, our show's been going on 20 years from our first show, which was getting close. But we hunted together before we were married and scandalously dated for 5 years before we got married.
Wow.
Throughout that whole time.
You're so old school.
I know we are fairly old school in all reality, but
we were only 5 at the time.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
yes, 25 years.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, it's been a long time since we talked, but I think the story goes, and we should refresh it a little bit for those who may not know. Lee, didn't you meet Tiffany on an airplane when she was a flight attendant or something like that?
No.
No.
Everybody would like to think that was the case, but in all reality, it was not. I mean, we grew up in the same town, actually our story is really lame, to be completely honest. We grew up in the same town in Columbia Heights, and I used to hang out with one of his sisters.
Yeah, so it's met her through my sister. Used to hang out with her or whatever. She was a flight attendant, so people always say that too. We've heard that last time. Didn't you meet on airplanes and place? Like, nah, met her in our living room probably when
I was like 15.
Over with my sister.
Yeah, when I was like 15, and he 1,000% ignored me because there's a little bit of an age difference.
Well, I was going to say too, like, you don't want to date your sister's friends because that is fraught with peril if it goes badly, right?
Right.
I bet you never.
It all worked out.
Yeah, I was like, I bet
time.
you never actually thought of that.
Yeah. Well, it was later. I mean, when she used to hang out with my sister, Tiffany's like 8 or 9 years younger than me. So at that time, it was like, oh, yeah, this little girl around here. You wouldn't even think about it. But then later on, when I was in college and she was just coming into college. I went back to a chemical engineering degree. And then we went to, we were at college at the same time. And
then we kind of overlapped.
Yeah, we overlapped there. And I was a tutor for chemistry, physics, and math and stuff. So I
needed help.
And then we just started hanging out and stuff back then. And so it was a little different because like my sister was already gone. I think probably maybe even gone and stuff. So I think she might have even been married at the time or something. So it wasn't like you guys were hanging out all the time.
But ultimately, I still was like 20.
Yeah.
So you guys have been together for about 25 years and married for about 20?
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And Mr. Demko, you ever hunt with your wife? Mark, can you hear me? Do you ever hunt with your wife, Mr. Demko?
He's like, I'm not even answering.
No, I don't know if he can hear us. Well, I'm going to continue. I'm just going to say for Mark and I know the answer anyway. I mean, we're both happily married. I don't hunt with my wife. I think most people, right? Most spouses don't hunt together because it's unusual for both to be totally eaten up with it the way that you guys are, right? And now there's plenty who do, but it's, I'd say, well, in the minority. And when you guys first got together, were you both hunters?
I certainly was. I mean, I grew up hunting, and I agree with you. It seems like most of my friends that hunt, like their wives don't. It's something they go off and do on their own to get away and everything. And then, but Tiffany never hunted before we met. And, at that time when I was in college, she was she was I was working at the archery shop. So if she wanted to see me, she'd have to come in there. So, and I never, because like I said, I have 5 sisters and they didn't hunt. So I just wasn't really even thinking about her hunting that much. But so when she would come up there, and since I was working, I said, why don't you just get a bow, and got one all set. But back then, there weren't even bows for women. I had to, get a bow and short string it and all kinds of stuff to get it to be the right weights and everything for her. And we just started shooting all the time. And then I don't think it was probably even maybe 3 years that we were dating. We'd go
it was quite a while actually,
and do things like, you want to try hunting? And she's like, maybe, I guess I could try
Well, because it used to work out perfectly because like, obviously I was not a hunter. I grew up in northern Minnesota, like going up to the cabin and stuff, used to fish all summer long, but I never hunted. My dad was not a hunter. And so Lee would be like, hey, I'm going to be in Kansas for November. I'm like, have fun. I'm going to Maui. So I would always just go be doing my own thing. Like when he'd be hunting for those few months, so I'd be like, yeah, that's great. And I would just never be around. And then occasionally as we started dating longer, then I would sit out with you and stuff, but still not when like crappy weather or anything like that. But I mean, it was a good few years before I actually decided I wanted to try hunting. And
yeah. And even then,
she
didn't know. When we got in the tree stand, she's like, I don't know if I can shoot one. I said, that's okay. Let's just go out. And if you'll see, if we see something, you can just decide then or whatever. She didn't know how she'd feel about it. And she had her bow, but she'd been shooting already for several years. Yeah. And we went out, and the first day, it was like opening day in Minnesota. I'll never
Scandia, Minnesota.
I'll never forget that big alfalfa field. And like 3 bucks came out, 3 little bucks. And the minute they came out, I said, I'm shooting. And the first one came in. So it worked out perfectly. The first one came in close enough, like 25 yards. She shot it, ran right in the field, fell over dead, and was hooked ever since.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So that worked out good. Yeah. It's a good start, for somebody to, if they're going to start hunting. You see people thinking about gun hunting where it's freezing out and stuff like that. It's like, no, go start bow hunting where it's, 70 degrees out, beautiful weather, just nice being out there and deer coming out. I mean, so it was a good way to start. I see a lot of guys like friends of mine, they maybe they only gun hunt, so they bring their wives out and it's 20 below in northern Minnesota, and their wives hate it and said, well, yeah, I would have hated it.
Or they'll sit them out in a tree stand. I'm still surprised a lot of times. And I mean, people that I know well, I'm like, a friend of mine, she had missed a bunch of deer this year. She's just on a bad streak. But I'm like, why is David not sitting out with you? I'm like, because I know for myself personally, if I'm on a really hard hunt, I would much rather have like Lee right next to me, because it's like, I just have that much better of a success because he's hunted for so much longer than me. I mean, he's made all the mistakes that I'm going to make, so it's just so nice when you get someone else there just to talk you through it.
To help you. Okay,
just another set of hands and eyes and everything out there.
I'll usually range for her and say, okay, put 32.
That's because you're a control freak, in reality. But I was like, that's because he just like is vicariously hunting through me half the time like that. But it is helpful a lot of times.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I'm almost a little jealous because on the one hand, right, being a bow hunter, it's almost like this solitary thing, right? And even when you go out with friends, because there'll be times when I'll meet up with a buddy or two, or maybe you go on a trip with a couple of buddies. But even then, Lee, right, when you get out of the truck in the morning, it's like, hey, I'm going over here and you're going over there, and we're not going to see each other until dinner. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you guys have that partnership where it's a life partnership. You're married, but it's like this bow hunting partnership, and you have like an intimate familiarity with how each other hunts. And I'm sure over the years, like Tiffany said, there's been so many times where like you're helping each other out, you're anticipating what the other person is going to do, and it just ups your odds that much more.
Oh, for sure.
100%. I mean, seriously, we're the best team ever out there. And like, even like this year, obviously we've been doing this for how many years, and still my favorite person to obviously hunt with is Lee. And in all reality, it's the weirdest thing because I think I've probably sat by myself like 5 times in my entire life. And obviously I hunt a lot, but it's just because I always was hunting with him. We were always just filming each other. And now I always have either Lee with me or a camera guy. Or now obviously we even have kids that are hunting and stuff too. So you always got somebody. So I'm like, I don't know what I would do if I was out there all by myself. I know I would leave early and come in late because for whatever reason, I'm like terrified that somebody's going to get me, when I'm walking in or out, like when it's dark out. But it's like, we just have so much fun. Like I said, this year, Lee was out there with me because he tagged out like in 2 states super early. And so we actually set up like 3 tree stands in 1 tree. And because he's like, I want to rattle a buck in and I can't rattle it in if I have to film too. So it would just be better if I could just have a camera guy up there with us. And it was a buck that he was hunting. Triple threat. And it was so awesome because he did. I mean, you rattled that thing in and it's like, there's a good chance I would have shot that deer that day just because I would have never rattled like that. I probably would have been knowledgeable enough to do what you did to get him to come back in. And when we had all those deer around, but it was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I just love it. It's different though, because just like you said, when I hunted with my buddies, like before I met Tiffany, it was like, it was a solitary thing. You went out and Paul would go one way and I'd go another way. And you're always happy for everybody to shot one, but it was still have, if you shot a big one, it was going on your wall, not his, and vice versa. But like for Tiffany and I, there's really no competition that way because it doesn't make any difference to me really who shoots it because it goes in our house and it's a team effort and everything. And we just have so much fun out there. And just like Tiffany was saying, it's like I almost every mule deer that she's ever shot except for one, I was there with her because we're just such a great team.
I think 2 this year because I got Lovey and then Will. I shot one with Will this year, but other than that, so a couple. I just love the spot and stalking stuff. So I just love going with her on that. Like she'd go with guides and just day after day after day, and they'd blow them. We get close, we couldn't get a shot, and this and that. And we'd go out like one day, the 2 of us and a cameraman with 3 of us out there, and bang, we'd do it like first day. I mean, they're a very good team. We've been hunting together for 20 years. But even like this year, it's in the tree stands, we always have double stands up, so you couldn't go with her. But this year, and I was tagged out, and I had one specific deer that I was hunting. Then I tagged on a different one. Said, let's go get him. But I want to rattle them in. So we went and picked out a tree as a cedar tree. And we got 3 stands in it, which we've never done before. So I said, well, I want to rattle and everything. I want to rattle this deer in for you, but I don't want to hassle with filming as well, So we put 3 of them up there with a camera guy. So it's funny with a big cedar tree with all 3 of us in there. And Keegan is like a monster. I'm like, he's like the biggest camera guy we have, and we're like, oh my gosh, the chances that this is going to work is like,
but it was awesome.
It was awesome. It's probably one of my favorite hunts.
All the deer we rattled in, so me not having to worry about camera and focus, and we got in everything, and so I just did another angle like over her head when he was coming right in. But yeah, it was awesome. We rattled him in, and then he came and he didn't come close enough, and he's over chasing some does, and so let's just wait because let him get over the hill where we don't see him anymore, and I'll hit him again, and we'll bring him in. Bang, he came right back up, and then he still hung up because he was like, gosh, I think because we had already rattled him in twice, and he was hanging up about 80. So then we looked away for a second, gave him a snort wheeze, and bang, that just did it. Came right in. She smoked him at 30. It's 182 inch deer. So that was like one of the highlights really of our whole 20 years probably hunting together. That was like probably one of my favorite hunts.
Yep.
Well, you guys obviously have made a lot of really good memories together over the years out there. Mr. Demko, are you back with us?
Yeah, I think I've gone out twice. So I apologize for that.
That's all right.
That's okay. We have a shooting gallery back here.
Yeah. I want you to be ready with a question next, but I wanted to hit them with one break and give you a chance to think. They're talking about all these great memories that they've had over the years, but for those of us who don't hunt with our spouses, sometimes that tree stand time is a time to get away, maybe decompress. Maybe you had a fight with your wife or something and you're out there. Have you guys ever really gotten mad at each other out there and just been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to sit next to you for like the next 10 hours?
We did this year in Illinois. I was so mad at him because we went to Illinois and I just like, you got dogs and kids and, I mean, bless your heart, but Lee's like, I'm ready. I'm like, do you have the kids packed? No. Do you have the dogs packed? No. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you're ready. That's awesome. But so it's up to me to bring all that stuff. And I always have everything for everybody else. And I did not bring some of my warmer clothes and I was underdressed 100%. And we were going out in the morning and it was later season and I was not expecting to hunt in the morning. But it's Lee filming me. So he's like, yeah, we're going to go out. And I'm like, this morning? I'm like, it's like 20. Like, of course, I don't have half the things I need. And then our Illinois farm is fairly new and we do not have great setups there. I mean, at all. It's like, it used to be so nice when I was pregnant because my tree stand setups were always just perfect, because it's like, well, you got to be careful because she's obviously 8 months pregnant up there. But, Yeah, I'm not anymore. So that goes to show that my tree stand setup, sometimes I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. How am I supposed to get up there? I'm like, the first step is like 5 feet up, and I was already crabby getting up there. I was crabby because I had to hunt that morning. I was crabby because I was freezing. And he's like, that's it, I've had enough. We're getting down. I'm like, we're not getting down. I'm like, I am up here now. I've gotten up. I am not getting out of this tree stand. He's like, we're not gonna sit up there with you. And I'm like, well, then I guess I'm gonna shoot a deer without you on my film.
Complaining or I'm leaving.
But I was like, well, how about you just quit being a jerk? So yeah, we definitely have our
not very many.
Not very many, no.
Not very many.
Yeah. That was just kind of like everything at once. We were both just crabby, and it never works.
Especially since it was, probably it was like January. It was right after the ATA show, so like right before the ATA show. So like January 7th. You've been hunting since August 15th.
Yeah, and I'm like, we don't have mornings in January. I'm like, why are we even out here? I'm like, take out in Iowa. Why am I even hunting a morning right now?
Well, I think it makes us all feel good that it's not always a fairy tale for them out there, Mr. Depp.
I mean, we've been married 20 years. I mean, come on, it's not a fairy tale. But I will say it's the one thing that always brings us back together. It's like you got those common interests, even, at times where it's, you do go through things. So definitely something that to be said about that.
What do you got, Mark?
Yeah, it's I've been with my amazing wife 20 years too. And so it got me to thinking, turkey season will be coming up in a couple of months. You ever sit in the blind or in the tree stand and discuss who's going to do this with the kids or who have to handle this responsibility? Who's going to do the groceries for the week? You have a lot of time where you're sitting and waiting. Do you find yourself doing that when you're sitting in the tree stand or in the ground blind?
Hey, Lee, have you ever considered who's going to buy the groceries?
No, I already know who's going to.
Those are just things that we just know. We all have our places in our families. And you know what? We know that for the most part, the kids are mine. And I mean, not that we're not a team, but it's just
right.
like, it's
but yeah, if it's for most of getting them ready or something, I handle all the food plot stuff and not the tractors every morning and stuff. And we all, we kind of settled into what works best for us. And, so we don't really have too much discussion about that. Most of the time for a tree stand, I'm like, people call me the Twitch Nazi. If anyone turns to talk or wants to do anything, shh, don't move, quit moving. Why are you moving so much? So we don't really discuss too much like that. More only thing is that we even talk about hardly is if deer come in or whatever, because I'm mostly focused on deer and looking and making sure. And we're fortunate that we have a lot of deer where we hunt, so it's not like we have lots of hours without at least some deer coming by. So you're normally entertained by deer and turkeys or whatever, and in the woods that we're not sitting there for a long time. We're pretty lucky on that.
But it is funny, like we said, though, it's like, I remember like years ago when we do Harrisburg for like 9 days and people would be like, do you put your own tree stand up? I'm like, no, I don't put my own tree stand up. I'm like, I have a husband. And I'm like, does he do his own laundry? No. Does he buy his groceries? No. I'm like, am I out there helping? Most days if I can be, but I'm like, we all have things that we're really good at and that we do. And it's like, that's what makes us, I think, so well together in all reality,
Yeah.
Well, the Harrisburg show is going on right now, so I'm sure you missed being there.
You know what? I actually do miss being there. I said to Lee, I'm like, I'm kind of contemplating maybe we should just run out for a day, but it's like 15-hour drive, And then, of course, like you said, we have our dog Maddie was diagnosed with bone cancer, so she just had surgery and she started her first chemo treatment and stuff. So it actually worked out good that we weren't out there, but it's so hard. All those shows are like at once. You had the Utah. That show, Big Hunt Expo in Utah. Then you had Harrisburg, then the NWTF. And it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, I wish we had a private jet, but we don't. So it's a lot of driving.
Well, I mean, your schedule has probably changed a lot over the years, because I was going to ask you, Mark kind of asked you about kids, and I was going to ask that too. A couple things on that. Obviously, once you guys had children, then it becomes like, and this is kind of one of those times where I'm like, I'm kind of glad my wife doesn't hunt, because then I could see like, well, what? You're not going to stay home with the kids? You've been out every day this week. I want to get out. And so you got to take a turn. And like, I never have to have that argument with my wife. But same thing with the shows too. I'm sure that there were years before you guys had kids. You probably would go right from ATA to SHOT and then to all these consumer expos around the country. And you'd be on the road constantly. But now you don't want to do that because, I mean, you've got a family.
Yeah. And I mean, in all reality, we used to even do that when my mom was still alive, because at least we had grandma with the kids, and that was all right, when they were younger and stuff like that. But then when my mom passed away, and then as they've gotten older too, and they're on the road with us when we're hunting. Yeah. So it's like, and they went to ATA show with us and, a few other things. So it's like, yeah, it kind of gets a lot because we homeschool them and stuff. So to try to get them back on track after just a free for all there for a little while. But yeah, we used to be on the road a lot and had a
we used
lot
to
of
do
fun.
About every show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we went just week to week to week to week, back to back shows.
But we were together, so it was fine,
Yeah, we just loved doing them. But
handled everything at home for us, and
yeah, we'd probably still do more if we had, somebody. If Tiffany's mom was still alive, and when she would come with us with the kids, if somebody you trust and was good with the kids, and we have, Maddie, we have some people that we take now, but they don't have all the time in the world to come and work on our schedule. They work too, so they they take off, and it's nice if Maddie be able to take off when we leave for a month. And August, September, elk season, she comes with us there and stuff. But it's just pretty much to ask somebody to be,
especially right after our hunting season. Oh, good job, Reagan.
To be coming on the road with us. So it's tough. And now they're getting to the age where
this is our beautiful work of art. She just finished.
It looks like she's got a food plot scene there.
It kind of does, actually. But I was just laughing because we went to the ATA show and because we came from our Illinois farm, we were hunting and then went to the ATA show. So we were there, and our buddy John Hoyer, who's a professional fisherman, single guy and stuff. I left the dogs with him, so he was in charge of the dogs. But we brought George with to take care of the kids at the ATA show, and of course George is like, "Oh yeah, they're fine." And I get like this message from this lady on Facebook. She's like, I just noticed Reagan by herself at the Redneck Blinds, and I'm not sure who's actually supposed to be with her, but oh, good. Cameron just came back for it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's what happens when you don't have a grandma or an aunt or, like a actual babysitter. And George is like, oh yeah, I mean, they were fine. I'm like, oh my God, George. I got messages on Facebook that my kids were there alone, and you're supposed to be watching them. But of course, he's chit-chatting about hunting. So
yeah,
but they were fine. I mean, at least most people know.
Because our kids just love going to those shows and seeing all the hunting stuff and things. Heck yeah, Cameron, he went now 7, and he's just crying his eyeballs out when we had to leave.
Yeah,
like,
he's like, I don't want to leave. I'm like, well, the people at Baku probably want us to leave right now because you've had 200 bike rides right now.
So are your kids doing a lot of hunting with you now? How old are they?
They are 5 and 7. And Cameron shot his first deer last year, and he'll be turkey hunting. And actually Reagan, I mean, both of them are shooting crossbows, regular bows too, but you can't pull back enough weight for animals. But both of them are going turkey hunting this year. Yeah, they're out with us a lot.
Yeah, they're out with us quite a bit, especially now, obviously not way early on. Well, I shouldn't say that. Cameron, the day we got home, we had Cameron's birthday on March 26th, and April we started turkey hunting. Had him out in the blind when Tiffany shot her first shot one, and he was probably at 3 weeks old, and he was out in the turkey blind when she shot a turkey with her bow, and I was feeding him a bottle in there. So yeah, they've been out with us a ton, but now at the point where they're actually hunting and enjoying it. Cameron just shot first time with a crossbow. He just can't pull his vertical bow out enough weight, but I think we're gonna probably have him shoot his vertical bow for turkeys.
Yeah, he wants to. That's his goal. But yeah, I mean, I shot a deer this Christmas Day. Actually, it was the first year we actually stayed home. Usually we used to go up to Minnesota, and we stayed home, and we're out Christmas Day and had the kids out there with us, and I smoked a big buck with all of us out there. It was pretty awesome. Yeah,
it's fun. All 4 of us. I was just filming, and 2 kids in there. Thank God for Redneck Blinds.
Yeah, it is amazing what you can get there. Because it's like they're so good until like all of a sudden like a bunch of deer start coming out, and you're like, why are you guys making noise now?
Yeah.
It's like so funny. But
Mr. Demko, what else is burning in your brain? I've got 2 more questions for him, quick ones, but I want to give you another chance.
Yeah, you were talking about the children and obviously introducing them into the sport. What are you most looking forward to having them try as they get older?
Oh, I think I'm most looking forward to like some of the mountain hunts with them because those are our favorite. I mean, obviously whitetails are our favorite. People always ask you, what's your favorite thing to hunt? And it's like, if you didn't have, deer right in our backyard and stuff, it'd be whitetails for sure. But since we're, every single day we're thinking about whitetails and, food plots and doing stuff with whitetails, I just love the mountain stuff. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, is getting them. I mean, obviously they've been out to Utah and Montana and stuff when we're hunting, but obviously they're not, they can't be huffing mountains at 3 and 4 years old when they've been out there and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to probably like the elk hunts and stuff with them, where we can, when they are actually, big enough and old enough to be able to walk the mountains and stuff. That was like, because I think for me, I grew up whitetail hunting. So that was like probably one of the coolest things that I ever did that first time. I go on an elk hunt and see the mountains and stuff, and just how amazed I was with it, and that, hearing them bugle and stuff. I'm really looking forward to them, doing that kind of doing.
And they have such an advantage too, because it's like already, I mean, we've been putting in for some of these like special draws and stuff for years, which, I mean, there's probably a few of them we'll probably never get,
Yeah, because we got, with the hunting fool starting to put our kids in now for the ones that they can. So, and a lot of these, if you're going to draw a sheep tag or something, it's going to take 30 years. And most people, they don't even think about that kind of stuff until they're, if you're even on the ball in the 20s and 30s, maybe even, so by the time people draw those tags, they're 60s and 70s, they probably you can't even get around them on that time.
There's some really neat youth opportunities too. So your kids might get a chance to draw some of those youth hunts for some of those things, and you guys can go along and experience that with them.
Live vicariously with them.
Right. But at least, you start them young like that. And of course, it's a lot of money to put in, for all those things, because they take all the money at first, and then a lot of it gets, put back into your credit card, but you want to, apply for all those things. Like just for Tiffany and I, it's like $30,000 on your credit card. Most of it comes back because you don't get drawn in it, but they still have to buy the hunting license and all those. So it's expensive. I can see why it's hard to do, but it's not for us. We're able to do it for them, but at least
it's a show expensive.
They'll be, they'll get drawn for about every tag that they'd ever want by their 30s and 40s. So I'm looking forward to that too, seeing them, draw some of those sheep tags and, some of those once in a lifetime things that you start them early enough, they'll have a pretty good chance of, 30 and 40 years worth of putting in. They're going to probably draw a lot of that stuff.
All right. So this is my sort of last question for you guys. It's a two-parter. One, do you celebrate Valentine's Day? And two, what's your best advice for hunting with your significant other?
Well, I guess I celebrate Valentine's Day. I mean, now I kind of think more about getting flowers and stuff for my daughter as much as Tiffany, but that's one that, I don't know. I mean, we normally do stuff on Valentine's Day because it comes at a time of the year where we're maybe just shed hunting. It's like one of our slower times of the year, because you get to March and man, you're already thinking, all right, sometimes we're fertilizing and getting seed and everything, are getting ready to go. And, shed hunting, we got, most of that's in at the end of February. So, we're mostly shed hunting, but
it is true on that where you said it's like, I shouldn't say he buys flowers. Somebody buys flowers for me every year. I kind of laid it out of what. Yeah, I was like, but you
no, it's me, but I don't have to order them myself.
Order.
I had her mom would always order them for me, and now Sean does it. Yeah, she's always on.
But it is. It's like it's not that we're like, like Valentine's Day. It's like, yeah, I mean, you see around here we are decorating. I like to decorate and stuff like that, but it's like it really is just something for like Reagan.
Yeah, look at that right there.
Yeah. It's like really for like Reagan and even Cameron, it's like of just, making your significant other or spouse just feeling appreciated and loved. And so now it's more of just, like it's what a good husband does to his wife. If it's special to her, then we do stuff like that, and Reagan, you don't settle for mediocrity, you wait for the best.
Yeah. And what was the second part?
What's your advice for hunting with your significant other? What have you learned over the years, Lee, that you'd say, oh, I'm going to do that again?
Nothing.
Well, I think I kind of already mentioned it a little bit earlier. Like I said, and I have friends that they only gun hunt. So they bring their wives out. Like when we're from Minnesota, so like all our family and everything's from in Minnesota. We hunted in northern Minnesota. So they bring their wives out and up there it can be 20 below. And it's like, of course they're not going to like it. Like
Maybe
I
they
would
do it
like
on purpose.
for the first time. But I always tell people, it's like, number one, make sure that if you're going to hunt like with archery stuff, that you got everything that fits, and they get them, teach them how to shoot first. And a lot of them don't do it yourself. I mean, even when I worked at the archery store, I mean, that's what I did. I did everything you can with archery, but I still had one of my friends who was like a really good like pro shooter work with Tiffany, because it's totally different when it's you teaching them compared to when it's somebody else. That's a big piece of advice. If you want your wife to shoot a bow or something like that, go to an archery shop. Even if you know every single thing about it, it's get somebody else to do it, because it's
you never have enough patience.
Oh, I tried to teach my wife to fly fish. It went horribly. And I ended up taking her on a guided trip, and it was way better because I just fished, and I told the guide, you just fish with her and I'm going to go over here and fish.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's the biggest thing about it. Like I said, it's like I worked at the archery shop, and I saw it so many times. Guys that bring their wives in and they have a bow. Oh, this is my bow that I had last year. It's way too heavy, way too long. Here, put on a release. They try to pull it back the first time. They hit the trigger, punch themselves in the nose, put the arrow up in the ceiling, and they'd never come back again. They're so embarrassed they'd never come back again. So make sure it's not some hand-me-down. You go get something exactly that fits them. Get somebody, make sure they shoot it well. But it's the opposite, though. Like you said, when all those failure things that your spouse doesn't go with you. When Tiffany, we had everything set perfect for her. I had some, like Ron Cormier was a great shooter. So he taught her how to shoot really. She got to be a really good shooter. We didn't hunt, like I said, for 2 years, but she'd go shoot all like our 3D tournaments with us, and she'd be beating like half of my buddies out there. I worked the opposite way, where when she was doing better and beating a lot of the guys at the 3D tournaments, then she wanted to do it every day. And then when you went out hunting, you make that successful and good weather and comfortable stands and stuff, and make first time, boom, I was there with her to talk her through it. Okay, this is what yard you want to do. Okay, and I remember pull it right there, and I just squeeze the trigger just like in practice. You're kind of talking them through it, and boom, they shoot and they smoke it the first time, and you're not missing and wounding stuff. And if you have great experiences right from the beginning, everything that you do with them, man, they're gonna love it the way that we do. But just starting them, if you start them off on the wrong foot, it's probably gonna end poorly.
Good advice. Mr. Demko, bring us out.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, taking time, to speak with us and to share some great stories from all your years of hunting together. Good luck and have many, many more, and happy Valentine's Day.
Hey,
thank you.
Happy
for Valentine's Day to you too.
We appreciate it.
All right, welcome back to the Bowhunting Podcast. We are here with, Mark, I was going to just introduce him, but I thought you and I, Mark, were America's favorite hunting couple, but apparently it's Ralph and Vicki. And so, guys, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, guys.
I don't want to take anything away from you guys.
Listen,
if that's something y'all want.
If you two want to do a podcast together, you go right ahead, man.
Go right ahead.
We got you, however that is. Sir.
I know it is Valentine's Day, Mark. I hope I didn't make you professionally uncomfortable there.
No,
and I know that we are 281st most popular couple when it comes to bow hunting, so we're fairly close.
You guys are rocking.
281st.
Well, hey, we were 200. We were 285 last week, so it's always a pleasure to have Ralph and Vicki with us. And of course, this is Valentine's Day, or it will be when this episode airs. And so, for the first question, I was like, what could I ask you guys? And I guess this offbeat came to my mind. What is the sexiest Valentine's Day gift for a bow hunter, guys? Is it like a new shooting house or some broadheads, or like what's the most romantic gift that you guys have ever gotten each other?
Huh?
He doesn't give me anything for Valentine's Day. Are you kidding me?
You don't celebrate the love of your life.
I got her flowers before.
Flowers. I won't even get flowers.
We'll be hunting.
No, we won't.
No. Oh, damn.
No, we'll be home.
No, there's not much. There's not much to hunt. I mean, listen, I don't want to throw you under the bus, Ralph, but
yeah, you already did.
I don't want to throw you further under the bus, but we did another segment before this one with Lee and Tiffany. And apparently Lee's not a very good gift giver either, but he has help. He has like people who order flowers for Tiffany every year and say that they're from him. So maybe you need to like get somebody on the posse.
Well,
See, here's the thing: is his mom, Nani, who passed away last September. She was the one that did it.
She handled that situation.
Not only do we have Valentine's Day coming up here soon, and as this is airing, but we also have a 30-year anniversary coming up in March. So we'll see what he remembers and what he's going to do for me.
Well, okay. You know what, Ralph? I'm going to get you out of trouble.
I really appreciated this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
You could help him out because maybe you're the one could help him.
Maybe I should turn the tables though, Vicki. I mean, what do you do for this good-looking, handsome husband of yours on Valentine's Day?
I do everything for him every day.
Hey, listen, let's be clear. All of us guys take care of the honey-do list because, if you don't take care of the honey-do list, man, you are in bad way. Because when mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And the whole household is it's almost like somebody bringing in the flu. You know what I mean? When mama's not happy. Everyone. Yeah. So, I'm just going to put it there that we as gentlemen take care of the honey-do list. And that's a very honorable thing to do. I mean, you take care of, like, you just stop whatever you're doing. You never forget what's on that list. And you complete every single thing in a timely manner.
It's getting very deep. I don't have boots on.
It reminds me of one of my favorite sayings, Vicki, which is that when a man tells you that he's going to take care of something, he'll do it, and you don't have to nag us every 6 months to see where we're at.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. You hit that one right on the nose.
Buddy, you nailed it. Simple. I think we should put that one in the books.
You understood what he just said, right?
Huh?
I don't have to nag you now.
Every 6 months.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm making sure you heard what he said.
No,
hey, he knows. His mind is like a steel trap. He knows. In all seriousness. In all seriousness. And I think this was true for Lee and Tiff, and it comes through. And I think it's what you're basically trying to say, Ralph, which is when you have a really solid relationship, right? A good partnership. You guys have been at this for a while now, 30 years of marriage and probably a few years of dating before that. You've got some roles carved out. You're pulling your weight. She's pulling her weight. And it works, right? It works in the household and it works in the field because you guys have been laying down all kinds of critters for a long time now.
He sounds like a marriage counselor.
Yeah, he does.
No, you're right. You know what? Honestly, you're right. Like, I do most of the stuff that's in the house.
Yep.
And all that kind of stuff. And he makes sure that everything else is going good out in the food plots. I mean, I'll help him once in a while, but I'm usually doing something
Tractors,
else.
buggies,
and I'm up in the office. I'm doing paperwork and contracts and invoicing, while he's, fidgeting out in his cave. But yeah, you're right. We do have our roles.
I think it's what do you call it?
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang, yang, whatever. Yeah, but
we just kind of mesh.
Yeah, that's it. And you guys know it. I mean, any relationship, you know what I mean? It's a give and take. You have to be willing to do both. And I mean, you just do it. And I think after a while, we don't take anything for granted at all. But what happens is it almost just becomes a natural thing.
It does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whoever's up the first, gets the coffee. Oh my gosh. But, the coffee's going, things like that. And I mean, it's just real simple. And then then you'll hear it, Ralph, fire. Need a fire. So then, I'm the one that goes out. Really? But yeah, most of the time.
You go get firewood. I usually start the fire when I get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and you're sleeping.
Well, I should sleep.
Okay. See how that works. See how that works.
I see what you started. Yeah.
I have to say I'm guilty. You mentioned the coffee. Well, first of all, I think we all know if you follow Ralph and Vicki on social media, I'm not sure I would want to really be around or talk to Vicki in the morning until she's had a couple cups of coffee. So if she gets up first and makes the coffee and you can stay in bed for that first hour and let her get caffeinated, That's smart. But I also will say that I do the same thing with my wife. And sometimes my wife gets up and she likes to work out in the morning. Sometimes she doesn't get the coffee going until after her workout. And on the rare occasion that I actually get out of bed before she's done with all that, I'm kind of bummed. And I'll sometimes give her a hard time. It's like, you didn't make the coffee. Because me, when I wake up, the first thing I want to do is go straight to the coffee pot. So I take that for granted. Mark, you obviously, you don't know these guys, right? Like I do, but so what were you thinking about wanting to ask them when it comes to hunting together for all these years as a couple?
Oh my, I'm going to throw a total monkey wrench into this because we've been off to such a great start. But do you two remember the Newlywed Game? Did you see the Newlywed Game?
Yeah.
So Vicki, I'm going to ask you a question. I said to my friend the other day, blank is the best hunter I know because blank.
And I have to fill in what I think Ralph would say.
What? Pardon me?
How do you want me to answer this?
What
I think Ralph would say?
I'm putting you on the spot, and I'm asking you, who is the best hunter you know, and why?
Yeah, but Vicki's right. In the Newlywed Game, wouldn't you normally have to try and guess what your spouse would say?
Yeah, well, I figured this was it's positioned to her, but the other thing is technically Ralph wouldn't have been in the room, but we sort of couldn't pull that off, so I've adapted.
Here, wait.
Yeah, I thought about saying that, but we've gone so far down the rabbit hole. I thought that question was perfect.
It is kind of perfect. So, the best hunter that what was the rest of the question? Sorry.
Who's the best hunter you know, and why?
I don't know. Well, Valentine's Day is coming up, and honestly, I just started hunting just before I started dating Ralph. So that's a long time ago. And I didn't bow hunt or anything. In fact, I bought my first bow at Ralph's archery shop. So I would say, besides being out there on my own and doing hunting, without him with me, I would say the best hunter I know would be Ralph.
That's phenomenal. See,
I think what she really wanted to say was herself, but she knew she.
Yeah, I think so.
I know.
A lot of what I've learned was from him, but since then, when you and I go out and like if you go with one person, if you go off one way and I go off to another tree and stuff like that, I mean, we both learn more stuff. You learn something every day. You learn something every time you go out. You know what I'm saying? But I would have to say that Ralph would be. I would have to say that Ralph is probably the best hunter that I would know, that I would say.
Wow.
Do you think I'll get flowers for Valentine's Day?
No, probably still not. Well, I kind of like your game though, Mark. Did you have a whole list of questions? Because you didn't tell me about this.
Do you have one for Ralph?
And it was just such a great start that I figured I'd slip that in. And we couldn't do the real Newlyweds Game thing because obviously you're sitting here talking to us, but I figured we'd adapt it and pull it off. And it went swimmingly well. So thank you.
You're welcome. You should make up a question though for Ralph to answer. See what he says.
Well, I do have a second one. Okay. If I can continue on.
Yes, please.
My question was, what's the most? So you guys hunt a lot together. What's the most husband and wife thing that ever happened while you were out in the field, whether in the DoubleTree stand or sitting in a blind? What's that like? The most husband and wife thing ever.
Do you really think this is going to be appropriate for?
We're a family-friendly podcast, so I don't know if this is going down that road.
This is, in today's world, where, and I'm not knocking, but there's so many insta-famous things, people and everything going on, and then you go back to the core people, the cores that literally live it 24/7 and have done it for years and years and years. And I'm going to tell you a short story that I think you guys will appreciate.
I'm scared.
We are in northern Alberta, and Vicki ain't feeling right.
Oh.
So she goes to the cook of the camp. We were with Bob Irvin and Shelly. Shelly was the cook. And she goes, listen, don't tell nobody. She goes, but when you go into town to get some groceries, could you get one of those tests? And Shelly lights up and goes, oh my God, you're pregnant. I mean, so literally, Vicki, she comes back and I walk her out. Now we are in a tent camp in the middle of northern.
Along a river in wall tents.
Yep, in wall tents, spring bear hunting.
And an outhouse.
Vicki goes up the 4 steps of logs goes in this little wood shack that's above a 55-gallon drum.
He's really giving you every
I'm
part of
telling you,
this.
not I won't give it to y'all. And all of a sudden I hear, oh my God.
Oh,
Uh-oh. So at that moment, guys, Vicki found out as well as I did that we were going to have a child in the middle of the wilderness in northern Alberta.
In the middle of wilderness,
No,
but that's where we found out that we were pregnant. And just to kind of go quick on this one too is we also know that it was turkey season when it happened. So
I was strutting.
Well, so okay, that is actually an awesome story, Mark. Great question, because I did not know that they found out that they were going to have RJ at a bear camp in northern Alberta.
Over a 55-gallon drum.
That is unbelievable. So what was your reaction, Ralph, and how was the rest of the hunt?
I honestly, I was elated. I was nervous, just like any other, future parent. You want to make sure, wow, I hope you don't do what I did. I hope.
What are we gonna do? Oh my! Everything went through our head because we were hunting in Alberta for bears, and we were going straight to Saskatchewan after that for another bear camp. So
we were going to be literally. I mean, we were going to be hunting for a few more weeks. So it was a little crazy. We went into town and we called the moms and let both our moms know because we figured, well, what the heck, we might as well let them know. And then once we got back into stateside and made the appointment and had everything else figured out, obviously then everyone knew. But yeah, it was a little crazy. RJ had quite a beginning.
So, well, you mentioned it, turkey season was maybe a time of conception. I was going to ask, and again, family-friendly podcast, but people, I think, who don't hunt with their spouses, and neither Mark or I, most guys don't, right? I think it's more unusual than usual for spouses to hunt together. And, I always think, man, sometimes you wish that your wife hunted, but then you're like, maybe we wouldn't get to hunt as much, or we'd fight over who got to go hunting. But yeah, is there romance in the woods, Ralph? Or is it you guys just are both too serious, hardcore bow hunters to ever even let such a thought cross your mind?
Family friendly.
Yes, family friendly. I'm keeping it. Yes, it's pretty damn simple. I don't care what you do in life. You got to have fun, man. You got to sit there and smile, and you got to be able to laugh at yourselves, and you got to be able to kid around and joke, and it's that simple. If someone wants to think that we are those, you just all this, I'm going to tell you right now, we hate to bust your bubble, but we're not. We try to enjoy life. We try to share it with the ones we love and cherish, and we thank God every day for the opportunities. I mean, it's that simple. Yes, when it's time, you guys know it. You get down, you focus, and you try. That muscle memory comes in, and all these other things, and you're really paying attention to what you're doing for the hunt.
Skirting your question.
Well, it sounds like that's the answer is the answer. I mean, it's the obvious answer, Vicki. When it's time, it's time.
It's time.
And the thing is, let's face it.
Muscle memory.
Because I can tell you this. It's exactly. It's that shot routine, and you just let muscle memory take over, and you put the pin where it needs to be, and it just happens.
Again, draw, anchor, aim, release.
Well, I can tell you this, Mark. You don't hunt with your spouse either, and I can tell you that let's face it. When the hunting is good, certainly you're not having those kinds of thoughts when there's a 180-inch buck walking into bow range. But there's also a lot of days when it's cold, windy, rainy, miserable, nothing's moving. And when you're out there by yourself, all you are is cold, wet, and lonely. So, yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have somebody to say, hey, what do you think about calling it a morning and maybe heading back to camp a little early? You know what I'm saying?
We're living proof.
Mark, I gotta throw it back over to you to get us on the rails again.
I'll be happy. Thank you for all that. I have to say, as we were having this whole discussion, you want to know what popped in my head? We need to have you co-host every Valentine's Day episode. It would just be absolutely phenomenal. but thinking forward, you have a whole year of hunting coming up, and You've done so many years of Archer's Choice in your program. I forget. I think it was like 5 years ago. You already hit your 500 episode.
Oh yeah.
I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's true. You travel, or during your height, you were traveling 50,000 miles a year. That seems like a lot of mileage. What's your favorite trip that you've ever taken in all those years?
Ooh.
You know, if you were gonna say favorite hunt and trip, I would say it would be probably up in the north, like up in Yukon or Alaska, just because it's just so big. You just feel so small, and it's just so amazing up there. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've been blessed. We've gone all over this planet. We've gone to Australia and Africa and
Russia.
He's been to
France,
Russia, France. And I mean, we've been like all kinds of places, you know. I still kind of like North America no matter what. It just feels good, you know, and there's something about moose and bears way up north. There's just something about that. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. You know, and I think we were born and raised in Illinois. White-tailed deer, white-tailed deer, white-tailed deer. Yet we had a drive and we had a passion of like not only the mountains, but the wilderness. And we continually did that. And we were fortunate enough, you know, to be able to do it. You know what I mean? To continue having our, you know, our friends and partners up north and all that. But, you know, just like us moving out here to Southern Colorado, I have to tell you, we pinch ourselves every day. Just because we wake up and you look at the mountains every morning.
Wait a second. Do you pinch yourselves or do you pinch each other?
Look at this little cutie.
Thanks, buddy. but no, you know what I mean? You sit there and you go, oh my God, we live here. And this fall, we had elk bugling literally
on our property,
less than 100 yards from our door.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just, you know, we've had mountain lions, we've had black bears, we've had tons of mule deer, tons of Merriams and the elk. And you just, Vicki, just about 15, 20, maybe now 40 minutes ago, she goes, Ralph, look it. And where our deck goes out, it drops down to a valley, but there was a red-tailed hawk perched right, literally eye level to us on the top of the tree.
It was pretty cool.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's necessary, but going to the wilderness, going to the, you know, to those areas, it just captivates your soul, man. It fills that gap. You know, like we've always said, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, guys work hard or women work hard, you know, and they go to the bar, you know, for an hour before they go home or something like that. We as hunters, we go outside, you know, whether you climb a mountain, whether you climb a tree stand. You go outside to refuel. That's our gas station. That's where we go, all of us, to fill that soul up when we're feeling like, oh, man, you know, I just need a little bit of, You go out there, you take that deep breath, you hear those things, you smell those smells that, you know, we wish there was smell-o-vision on television because you would, you know what you'd feel more, but there isn't. So you get out there and you do this, and I don't care if it's just on the edge of a cornfield or soybean field over your favorite food plot, or up in a mountain or in a swamp up north. It doesn't matter. That's how we replenish our gas tank when it's starting to go on the opposite end.
Yeah, you got me thinking about smell-o-vision. And then I saw a meme on Facebook like last week. It was something about, you know, what's the one weird smell that you like or something. And I was like, estrus doe urine. 100%. Like every time I smell that, it actually, like, I love it because it makes me think about being in a tree during the rut. You know what I mean?
You go back to it. Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't go with the estrus scent, but like fresh earth.
No, I like the
wafers and spray. I mean, when you smell that, it's not hunting season. You instantly think of hunting season.
My wife's not that big of a fan of either one. She tells me I either smell like dirt or you smell like dirt. Or, you smell like deer pee. And I'm like, oh, it's a great smell, honey. You know, you got to come to an appreciation of it.
And you know what's funny? You remember years and years ago, the big thing was skunk scent.
Yeah, I think you're a couple years older than me, Ralph. I remember that one.
I am, but that was huge, man.
Hey, ask Ralph about his cow estrus, his cow elk estrus, and what happens when it spills in your bag, and then you take that milk.
We've all had a bottle of urine spill in our backpacks. It's not good. Hey, listen, in all seriousness, I wanted to ask you, because as you were talking, I was like, well, clearly Ralph's passion for the outdoors and the hunt has not waned over all these years, as you were waxing poetic about recharging your batteries and filling up your soul and your cup runneth over and all those things. How do you, or what's your best advice for the married and attached people out there? How do you keep your passion up for your marriage and your relationship like you do for that hunting over all these years? Because you guys obviously have a really good marriage as well.
Right? It's pretty simple. You know, stop putting a measurement, stop putting an age structure, stop making it so, convoluted.
That's for hunting.
No, but what I'm saying is, there's always going to be a competition. Always. But the thing is laugh at it, man, share it, dig each other and know that you're going to do this together and you're going to do it for the fun of it. If you're doing it to have your 15 minutes of fame, I'm going to tell you right now, your ship is sinking. But if you do it for all the right reasons and pass that on to the ones you love and share that and cherish that, that ship's sailing for a long time.
Well, and I also think that, we do spend 24/7 together. We truly do. We are together 24/7. Once in a while, he may go on a hunt or I may go on a hunt that we're not together, or we may obviously
but we
be in
miss
different
it, don't we?
stands. But yeah, I was going to say, you miss it. There's something, we know a lot of couples that couldn't do what we do.
No.
The 24/7 together for 365 days a year sounds insane, and it can be. And we do get on each other's nerves. I promise you that.
Oh, yeah.
I promise you.
I got scars.
That's not for me.
Oh.
But the thing is that you know what? Nothing is easy. Everything is a work, but when we are together, we truly do. You got to spend time together. You got to, make sure that that you're paying attention to each other. It's not just the hunting. It's not just the camera stuff. It's not the honey-do list, which is nice, but just to take time and spend it together, Yep. And sometimes it's, let's go see a movie or let's go do something different than hunting, because hunting is what we do. So sometimes we have to find something else to do.
We have tons of friends that come over and all they want to do is talk hunting. And I'll be honest with you, there's times we're like, guys, stop. we, no offense. We don't want to talk hunting. Let's talk about something else. And you'll see some of them jaws drop and you got to hurry up and lift them up, because they're like, but yes, that's our DNA. But
you want to talk about the Grammys?
No.
Nope.
We can talk about rabbit holes, but we won't go there right
now.
Oh,
no. Don't you guys start. Oh, my gosh. But that's it. Huh?
I was going to say, Mark, what'd you think about that? You have anything to add there?
I've never watched it. I worked in the music industry for 22 years, Ralph and Vicki. For put this in perspective, I've never watched the Grammys in my life.
Good for you.
Good for you. Isn't that crazy, though?
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw a little bit on social media, and certainly, artistry. There's a certain form of self-expression there, and so there's a lot of different interpretations people put on their music and on. Sometimes they'll incorporate in some of the contemporary things that are going on in the world today and things like that. But that's all part of what goes with the territory. And, artists tend to be really creative. But yeah, I worked for over 2 decades in music, and but I've never watched the Grammys. I just don't. It's something interesting. When you see everybody come together, it's nice to be recognized by your peers. And that's true for any industry. It's just something that I've never watched.
Right.
Yep.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
But there's industries like ours where you have true talent like Ralph and Vicki, and then there's other industries where it's a bunch of nonsense glorifying other nonsense, and I'll leave it at that. That's just my 2 cents, though. But I'm gonna say that at least the majority of our audience sees that our way. Yeah,
totally agree.
Well, so, I didn't really have too much agenda for today, and I told you I wouldn't keep you too long, but is there anything else that you'd want to share before we wrap it up about just 30 years of in the field and in life together? This is your chance to just speak your wisdom into the hearts and minds of those of us who are so thirsty for it.
Well, I know earlier you had made the comment, you don't know if you would want your wife to go hunt with you because sometimes, you want to go and do your own thing or whatever like that. But honestly, I think there's something that's why we are so together still. And he and I, we seriously like yin and yang, like we answers each other's sentences, like it's so weird. But I think the outdoors has a lot to do with that. Being out there in God's creation and having the time together to share with each other, that was a big part of it. I think that, even if it's a matter of maybe your significant other doesn't want to go hunting, maybe they want to go fishing, or maybe just go sit out in a stand or a blind and let them see and witness just the adrenaline you get without even a weapon in your hand. Give them a camera or something like that. I think I think the outdoors has a huge part of why Ralph and I and our marriage are so successful.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I think in any relationship, there's got to be some common denominators. You know what I mean? And there's things like heck, when we're up in Wyoming or wherever we're at, when we're hunting and you come back and Vicki's gone to this mountain, I've gone over there, RJ's gone over there, Aubrey's gone over there, and you all come back to camp. And you all have that camaraderie and you're all talking about things. And you feel like it's a magnet. You know what I mean? You feel drawn to each other and you feel that strength. And, I think that's what we're missing. You know what I mean? Everyone, it's all about the size, the age and all this stuff. Man, we're missing the boat here. It's about the adventure. It's about sharing it. And it's about growing it. If there's a possibility that we all could stop the arguing and, just all of that and just say, listen, we're all in this together to live this lifestyle that we love and we cherish.
Well,
wow.
I'm going to be speaking at a banquet next month, a hunter's banquet. And one thing that I always talk about at those events, and you just hit the nail on the head, it took me a long time in the industry to realize that the most important thing about what we do isn't the critters, it's the other people that we come into contact with.
Absolutely.
And you have to satisfy, or at least in my case, I think you have to satisfy your ego for a while to come to the realization that there's not true fulfillment in that. And you finally start to see the light. But in your case, as a spouse, boy, that's the ultimate other person, isn't it? There's an intimacy and, a bond that you can cultivate there that's probably deeper than any other bond that you can have, this side of glory. So, and then actually you touched on it. I wanted to say too, your perspectives have probably changed a lot in the last handful of years. And it's really a testament to your own lives where, it's funny, we talked about reproduction earlier, finding out you're pregnant up there in northern Alberta, but you guys are almost reproducing yourselves because look at RJ and Aubrey and they're almost, it's like the next Ralph and Vicki, and here they come.
Yeah. And I'm telling you what, she is competitive. Oh, buddy. He's got to have his hands full.
Oh yeah. And it's great,
it is.
To watch them. And the cool thing with Aubrey, she comes from no hunting background.
Yeah.
Never did it. Never participated.
Got her first doe with us in Illinois.
You talk about how this captivates a soul that had no experience, no knowledge. I mean, nothing. And this girl is just as covered up as the first day I met Vicki. You know what I mean? Knowing that, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. And that's the only thing you could say at the end of the day. Thank you, Lord.
That's the only thing that you ever found more exciting than a Boone and Crockett buck was Vicki, right?
Oh, it was the best thing I ever found.
Mr. Demko, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you bring us to a conclusion.
Yeah, we want to thank you. This was an incredible episode in so many ways. And, for me, it was a pleasure to meet you for the first time. And we're going to leave you with happy Valentine's Day. Ralph, you can put the honeydew list aside for the day. And I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Well, happy Valentine's Day to all. And God bless you all. And just, man, live life to the fullest.
And Ralph, we are recording this about a week ahead of actual Valentine's Day, so it wouldn't kill you to maybe grab some flowers.
Wow. Yeah, you're pretty brave over that. Yeah.
I'm real brave on Zoom. I'll tell you that. I don't know if I'd say it if we were in the same room, but anyway,
Zoom.
I will follow up with Vicki after Valentine's Day and see what you did. All right.
Do that. That'll be
I'll
good.
make her a dozen. I'll make her a new dozen Easton arrows. How's that?
Hey, whatever is,
Count.
you know what? As long as she's happy, I'm happy. All right. Okay. So I'm going to call her on the 15th and I'm going to say, Vicki, are you happy? And if she says yes, you're off the hook.
Yeah,
that's it. That's right. Put your red. You look like
my Valentine's Day hat on.
Mark, when you look at Ralph right now with that hat on, I'm going to give you, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you see him in that white hat?
Please put the arrows in a vase.
Okay. I'm going to give you mine. First thing that comes to mind, put it back on, Ralph.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind when I see Ralph in that hat, Yukon Cornelius.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it, buddy. I thought you were going to say a gnome out in the garden.
No,
not at all. No, you guys are looking good. All right. Hey, thanks again. It was awesome.
Thanks for having us. Take care,
thanks
guys.
for everything you're doing, bud.
Thanks for downloading the Petersen's Bowhunting Podcast. All bow hunting, all the time. Pick up the latest issue of Petersen's Bowhunting magazine on your local newsstand. Or connect with us online at bowhuntingmag.com.